Welcome to Boss Radio Live. You guys, welcome to Boss Radio Live. I'm your host, NJ, and this is where he is the boss of me. And I am really excited about our guest today. I have Kerry-Ann Powell, and I'm going to tell you about her in a moment. But this is going to be a really, really good show for our small business owners. So you guys get your popcorn, your tea, get whatever, and plan on having a seat and listening to this really good information coming right up. It's Boss Radio Live with NJ, your three-dimensional podcast. Baltimore, Maryland. I love my city. Wow. You have to have balance.
Mother's Day extravaganza event being held by LUC Lois Butler Palmer.
Come meet me today at the Spirit Center. I want to hear what you have to say. So you guys, as I was saying, we have a great guest on today. Her name is Kerry-Ann Powell. She is a global business strategist, a speaker, and a small business champion. And we're going to find out, what does that really mean? But in case you have never heard of Kerry-Ann, I'm just going to give you just a tad bit about her. And then we're going to hear about this amazing journey of hers and all the great information that she has to share with you guys. Kerry-Ann Powell is a global business strategist, speaker, and small business champion. She has over 20 years of experience as an attorney, lobbyist, and fundraiser, and she knows what it takes to strategically succeed while confronting difficult obstacles. After raising $120 million to build the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, she launched her strategic business and consulting firm, Trafalgar Strategies, where she and her team advise business owners on creating the strategies, systems, and mindsets to thrive in business and in life. Kerry-Ann is committed to sharing powerful strategic tips business owners can use to run their businesses smoothly and feel confident as they take action. You guys, welcome Kerry-Ann Powell to the show. Welcome, Kerry-Ann.
Oh my God, NJ, how are you?
I am great. I'm so excited that you are joining us today. And
Me too. I'm so excited. I'm ready for our conversation, girl.
I want to hop into this. And first, I want to start because those who heard this intro heard about this Martin Luther King Memorial and $120 million. Okay. I need to know what that was all about. How did you do that? Yes, I want to hear about that.
Yeah, we could talk all day. Let's bring the coffee out.
Let's do that.
Well, I think this is Friday afternoon, so we should have a little glass of wine or something, celebrate the week.
That would be better.
Well, yeah, no, it was it was the thrill, honestly, of my personal life and of my professional life to be able to be the fundraiser for the Martin Luther King Memorial. And, if you have some listeners out there, who are international, the Martin Luther King Memorial is a memorial that's dedicated to the life and legacy of Martin Luther King on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And it's a big deal because it's really the only memorial, NJ, a lot of people don't know this, but this is the only memorial on the National Mall that is not for one of our presidents or one of our veterans of war. And so, it's a civilian and someone who's made a big impact. So it was really, having him there is a big deal. But the journey of actually raising the more than $120 million, we got to raise the 120 for the building, but then we had to raise an additional 8 million to celebrate, the opening events and such like that, because there was heads of states there and stuff like that. And that was just such a journey. And it ties right back into this topic today, the importance of having strong strategy and implementation to make a big thing happen. So it was truly one of the things that I hold so very dear to my heart. And every time I go back to DC, and I always go back and visit the memorial, I always just sort of like, and whenever you see, it's kind of interesting when people like post pictures on social media and they're standing by the memorial, like, well, look at that.
Yeah, I'm going to see it in a whole new light now. I'm like, oh, I know the person who was personally involved in getting this here. That's amazing.
Yeah. Such a joy.
Yes, what a journey. And so you just hinted on the fact that, of course, you couldn't have done something like that without having a rock solid strategy in place, right?
Yes.
So how did doing things like that take you and kind of inform your whole view on business strategy? Because we know that, this is where you are now. This is your space now.
Yeah. So, I sort of cut my teeth on strategic planning and strategy from early days, when I was doing work right out of college. I was a division director for the United Way in my community. And, so from that point on, really of a truth, I started really sort of seeing the importance of creating strong strategy, seeing the importance of planning, and also seeing the importance of being able to have an execution plan to execute such strategy, because 67% of strategies fail because of poor execution. So you can have a cute little fantastic strategy, but if you don't have a way to execute exceptionally, then you've kind of wasted your time there too. But as I started my career early days doing strategy and seeing how you can raise money back in those days, I was happy to be able to raise 200,000, 500,000. But in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. The point is, if you have a big idea that you want to achieve, there's really no way to do it all willy-nilly. And entrepreneurs, we like to be like, oh, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to start doing it, because that's kind of personality type of an entrepreneur. But what I try to help people understand, particularly business owners, understand is the importance of creating a strong strategy, having systems in place to be able to execute well and exceptionally, so that you can really get to the point where you are scaling well and you are running your business in a way that doesn't seem like chaos.
Wow, and that's really important, because I've talked to several small business owners, and they feel or express that feeling of chaos, just feeling like things are kind of out of their control, or they don't have enough control in their business.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that. How can business owners really get past that feeling of, everything just being so chaotic and past their control? This strategy, is it all about just having that strategy in place? And
Well, I like to say, there's when people come to me and they say, hey, I feel like, the business is chaotic. Oftentimes there's usually four things that they're really referring to. They're usually having an issue that they can't scale the business. They've been in business for a bit and they can't scale the business. They even may be growing, but they're not scaling, which is totally different things. And or they may say, I have some cash issues. Cash flow is not working. It's perpetually
Mm.
negative cash flow. Another thing they may say is, I am having a difficult time building a team, or my team is not functioning as well as it should. And then the fourth one usually is, the owner is having a difficult time. They're wearing too many hats. They can't step away from the business without feeling like it's going to implode. Those are sort of the main four big chaotic things happening. And I always like to say those are actually not really the chaos. Those are the symptoms of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you recognize that those are the symptoms of chaos, then you have to ask the question, NJ, well, then what's the chaos? And what I have found over the years working with small businesses is that there's usually 8 um, real underlying culprits that cause chaos in businesses. And oftentimes, you go to the doctor, you know how we like to self-prescribe. You go to WebMD. I got a
Yeah,
backache, and I got a
do
fever, and I'm
that.
going to put it in WebMD and then come up with some, you're going to die. Like, but we like to self-diagnose. But the reality is, let's say you have a headache. Yeah, you go to the emergency room. It could be a lot of reasons why you have that headache. It could be that you bumped your head, right? It could be that you have high blood pressure and you're getting ready to have a stroke. It could be that you have an allergy to something. It could be a lot of reasons why you have a headache. So you deciding, oh, I've got a headache means whatever thing, and you start diagnosing and you start treating that headache isn't always the best way. It's the same way with business owners. They say, okay, well, I've got a cash flow issue. Well, yeah, it could be that you have a sales problem. It could be that. Or it could be a multitude of other things. It could be that your business model isn't working well for you. It could be that the way that you're producing your products isn't working for you. It could be that you don't have a scalable a service. It could be a number of different things. So what I like to sort of say is, okay, fine. You identify what the symptom of chaos is in your business, and then you kind of take a step back and you say, okay, what is it that is really the culprit for that? What is the underlying cause for that?
Mhm.
And I would probably, and I've found about 8 of them. And one of them is just that there's some foundational issues in the business. And and Jay, you work with business owners, and there's some
Yeah.
foundational things in the business. There's not a good business plan. There's not a good exit strategy. There's not a good product formulation. There's not all of that. There's no business vision. All of that stuff, right? Foundational.
Mhm.
A second one could be that they are not leading very well, right? Leadership is not showing
Wow.
in the business, and
Yeah.
that can be anyway, any type of way, right, NJ? Because a lot of times people are like, well, no, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a leader. I'm an entrepreneur. Or it's kind of like those sports players, those athletes who are like, I'm not a role model. I'm a
Mhm.
basketball player. Well, guess what? You're a role model too. So take it on and now be a good role model, right? Because that's just
Yes.
the reality.
Definitely. Yes, exactly.
So that number 2 part is, you're not leading well. And leading well can be, I like to look at it as leading oneself, leading one's team, and leading one's organization. So one of them things isn't working for you. And you
Mhm.
just got to realize. Thirdly, it's your team is performing subpar, and that could be a number of different reasons. But again, I always like to say, if your team isn't working, isn't leading well, you've hired well, and they're not performing well, it's usually you too. So I'm just saying, go back
Yes.
to yourself. So that's number 3. Number 4, you really don't have a strategy, or your strategy sucks. So either one thing around, either you don't have a strategy or your strategy's bad. And number 5, it would be you don't have any processes or systems in the business so that you can then make things work smoothly. The 6th one is usually that you are not executing your strategy in an exceptional way,
Mhm.
meaning you have the strategy, but you're like, oh, I'll do this today and then do that tomorrow, and it's not really doing a thing. Number
Mm.
7 is usually you don't have any um processes or systems in your business that allow for innovation and optimization. So
Oh.
you might say, okay,
Good one.
Today it's going well, but then you haven't optimized the things you already have in the business, or you haven't innovated for new things. So
Mm,
it might have been working real well last year, but then you haven't really done anything to innovate and optimize. And I think one of the issues too, NJ, with optimization and on innovation is that small businesses think just because they're small, then they can quickly innovate much faster than large businesses. And you can, like, that is the truth. Innovation does come from small businesses. However, if you're just innovating because you're reacting to something, that's not really innovation, right?
mhm.
Innovation is
Yeah.
making a decision to be innovative. So whatever
Mhm.
that looks like. And then number 8, wraps around everything really is if you have a rotten mindset, meaning there's no success mindset in the business, meaning you, the owner, doesn't have a good mindset, your team doesn't have a good mindset. Everything that's working in the business is not it, the mindset is just, you can have excellent strategy, but if 80% of it is bad mindset, then you've ruined the whole thing has been burned down. So those 8 components are things that I'd like to sort of check. I like to do sort of an audit of a business if they're saying if they're having symptoms of chaos, those 4 symptoms we talked about earlier, right? Cash
Yeah.
flow, scale, can't leave the business because you're wearing too many hats, or your team isn't working. If any of those 4 are showing up chaotically in your business, then I like to go and look at these 8 underlying components and assess where you're at.
Oh, that's so good.
Mm.
So I don't even know where to go. That was so good. That's so much to like unpack just right
And
there.
NJ, the thing is, what a lot of people are like, oh well, yeah, I got those symptoms and chaos, but I'm still running the business. It's fine. You realize though, those 4 things that I mentioned happen to be the top 4 reasons why businesses fail. Not why small businesses fail, by why all businesses fail. So
Yeah.
it's not really a thing to play with. Now,
Yes, and I put that infographic. I don't know if people
mhm,
caught it in your intro, but I thought that really went along with what we were going to be talking about today. That in the time frame that they were doing these surveys, that 1 million businesses failed.
yes.
One million started,
Mm-hmm.
but 1 million failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's really important to just take a minute and just realize that, because we know, these statistics have been out here talking
Mm-hmm.
about, most businesses fail within the first, was it 3 years? Three
Mm-hmm.
years fail within the first
Yeah.
3 years.
So the numbers are, 20% in the first 3 years, 50% in the first 5.
Mm,
By year 10, 70%. 70% have failed. And so a lot of companies, when I use those statistics, is a lot of business owners were like, yeah, well, those companies are companies that never scaled. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. But 2 out of 3, the Inc. 5000, right?
mm,
For any of your audience who doesn't know, Inc. 5000 is an award that's given to the fastest growing and highest growing companies. It's a US based award. And if a company does get onto the Inc. 5000 any particular year, it means that there are some really high scalable metrics that one can say, wow, that company really did scale quite a bit. If you So Inc. magazine and the Kaufman Group did research on the companies that hit the Inc. 5000. 2/3 of those companies fail within 8 years.
mm.
So this is not an issue of, oh, well, the companies weren't able to succeed, so they were never going to survive anyway. No, these are companies. So yes, 70% of companies fail in a decade, all companies. Okay. But if you look at scaled companies, 2 out of 3 of those companies who have hit scale will fail within 8 years after scale.
Whew.
So, again, these symptoms of chaos are not to be played with. If they're showing
Mhm.
up in your business, you have to address them. Now, there's something to be said, NJ, that at the different stage of business that you are in, some of these problems are actually normal problems. Okay. So, if you're in the first year of business, cash flow is going to be a problem. Yes, yes, and yes. But what you want to be aware of is what stage of business that you are in, and is the problem pervasive and perpetual? So if it's
Yes,
perpetual and pervasive, and it's at a stage of business where that's kind of shouldn't be, then I mean, if you've been in business for a bit and you're not scaling, that's a problem. It
it
is a
is.
problem. I'm not saying you got to scale like the tech bros scale, but you've got to be scaling, right?
I agree. Yeah. And you know, my husband was recently, he was in an article and he was talking about this book this book that
Hmm.
he said really helped him because he was actually falling into, and I tried to tell him this, Kerry, and I tried to tell him, but you know they can't hear us
They
when
don't listen to this.
but he the book is called Who Not How. And
Hmm.
so they were basically talking about the business owner trying to take on so many roles that they're not actually effective in the business at that point, because it's too chaotic, like we're talking about today, and things are not getting done or not getting done properly because
NJ,
everything is not your ministry.
I heard someone say, to your point, I heard someone say, the more valuable you are to your business, the less valuable your business is.
Wow.
Because if you have to be in the business, I mean, you could never sell that business. That business is
Mhm.
not worth it. You got a job, a very nice job, but you got to work harder, longer hours. But it's a great job, but you still got a job.
I think that should have been a light bulb moment for some people right there. That's like that
Mhm.
was like a mic drop. I heard it. I heard it hit the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't know
yeah.
what it is too. Like, don't you, I mean, NJ, don't you wonder, like, what is it? I heard TDJ say something about, I think he was talking primarily around African American business owners, but I think this really does extrapolate to a lot of business owners. This concept of why they have a difficult time stepping out of the business, and it's this like concept of the need to struggle, the feeling that you need to struggle, or that somehow struggling and hustling
Mm,
is a way of life, that's what gives you your street creds, your street credentials on whether or not you're a business owner. And I'm just like, no, drop that
mm.
down. That is not even something to be aspiring to.
Wow. I tell you. I hope you guys are listening. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope you guys are listening because this is great. So you were talking about having the strategy, but then
Mhm.
having the things in place to execute the
Yes.
strategy. Can we talk a little bit more about that, about executing that strategy? What?
Yeah. So I like to call it exceptional execution, and people always get confused because they're like, oh, so you want me to execute everything perfectly? I'm human, and we're all human. Um, so that's not when I say exceptional execution. I don't mean that you do everything right all the time. What I am saying is, if you say in your strategy, say one of your strategies is to is your revenue strategy, and you're a real estate agent, okay, and you want to list and exclusively list and sell, say 30 homes this year, all right, and maybe one of the tactics that you're using to achieve that goal, that objective, is to reach out to all homeowners that are in a particular neighborhood. Contact, all the homeowners in a particular neighborhood to make sure that they know that you're there. So let's say that would mean that you have to make phone calls, make 100 phone calls per week in order for you to do that. Exceptional execution is you make 100 phone calls per week every week. Now, maybe 80% of those phone calls, you are on your game and you are doing it. You are using the right language, you have the energy, you're at a good peak state, and you're doing it well. And maybe 20 of those phone calls you kind of flubbed on. Maybe you didn't say the right thing. Maybe you called the person the wrong name. Maybe you, whatever the thing is. Maybe you were low energy. You still made 100 phone calls. That's exceptional execution. You could, maybe all of them were not perfect. And the other 20, that's where you start optimizing, the innovation optimization part of the game, where you optimize those phone calls, your script, your state of mind, your, energy, whatever the thing is, you get that optimized. But exceptional execution is saying whatever it is you said you needed to do to achieve the objective in your strategy, you do it and you do it and you do it. So it's really not a question of, I remember I was talking to my sister earlier today, and they have a couple businesses, and sometimes we like to kind of, riff about business stuff. And I was telling her around this idea of executing well. So, when I was right out of college, I worked at Ann Taylor. I don't know if you remember Ann Taylor, right? I worked at Ann Taylor, and back in those days, Ann Taylor had a commission-based process. So if you were on the floor and you sold a certain amount of clothing, you'd get additional money in your paycheck. So I was good at selling people. Number one, because I love clothes and I loved selling, and I just thought it was fun. So I would be on the floor and I could sell you anything, really, because I really do love I love seeing people happy in clothes. But then, remember there was a time when a lot of companies started pushing their credit cards. So Ann Taylor came up with a credit card. And so you have a choice. You were either on the floor or you were working the cash wrap, the cash register. And at the time, they didn't really have any commissions for being on the cash register. You just kind of were there. And so I never wanted to be on the cash register because I was like, well, I want to be on the floor. But of course, the manager had to manage staff. Well, there's a couple of us that were really good on the floor. And then there were some folks that weren't that good on the floor. So they would always put them on the cash register. This was one girl who, I remember her because her personality was, I guess maybe now you might consider her someone on the spectrum. Like her personality was very different than others, right? So she was very, a bit, if you told her to do something, she'd do it, right? But she didn't like anything that was not like focused. If she had to improvise, she really didn't like that. Anyway, so smart girl, but that's just sort of, so she liked being on the cash register because she was just like, okay, let me just do my thing, and she didn't really care about the commission. Okay, fine. Well, then they came up with these credit card things. And the company wanted all of us to, if you're at the cash register, you had to ask every person if they wanted to open a credit card. At that time, I was sort of in my Dave Ramsey phase where my credit cards are bad, whatever.
I might still be in that phase. I don't know.
Philosophically, I didn't really believe it, but also too, I didn't like the idea of asking people to open credit cards. It just felt a little cheesy to me. I didn't really like it. But anyway, but you had to do it, okay? And they were like, if you're on the register and you don't do it, your manager would, say something to you. Okay, fine. Well, this girl, they had an incentive where they were like, X number of credit cards that you opened, you would get some dollars on your paycheck. Okay. So at the end of the month, she had gotten so much money that it actually surpassed a lot of the commissions from on the floor. Wow. So everybody was like, how is she doing this? Right? Because she had opened all these credit cards. And so I started paying attention to her. Her personality was, they told us every person who comes to the register, you ask them to open a credit card. And for her, if you tell her something, right, she's gonna do it. Every person that came to the cash register, she asked them to open a credit card. That's why she was able to get so many people to open a credit card. She didn't have any emotions around it. She didn't feel rejected if they said no. And you know how sometimes women will, as a way to, this sort of societally, I think you notice it, NJ. Sometimes people will end quest end uncomfortable questions or statements with a question mark. Women will often do that. So they'll say, and I had a red yellow dress, like that kind of a weird thing. Or sometimes women will have a higher pitched sort of, and do you think you'd like to get a credit card today? That kind of a tone as a way of sort of softening the ask. She didn't have any of those inhibitions. So she'd just say, would you like to open a credit card today? That's all she would ask. And she did it all the time, every single transaction. And that is how she was able to surpass anybody who was doing sales on the floor by opening credit cards. Meaning she exceptionally executed something. She wasn't doing this whole, if you get this credit card, it's gonna like save you money and blah blah blah. No, she just asked the question and she got the results. There is something around doing the boring things over and over and over and over again in your business. If you have spent the time to develop a strong strategy and this tactic works for you, you have to make sure the tactic works for you. Yes, test it out, make sure it works. If you have a strategy, the tactic works for you, and these are the things you need to do. These are the KPIs and everything like that need to happen. Just do it. It's boring. It's not fun, but you just do it. That is how you exceptionally execute.
Wow.
How you hit your goals.
I mean, that I was like okay, I'm trying to see where this story is going, right? But no, that was an excellent way to really illustrate that. Like, and then we need to take our and I know people are like, okay, well, I'm a human, I'm gonna have, feelings or whatever, but we really do need to take our feelings, our like emotions off the table when we're dealing with our business. Everybody is not our perfect customer. Everything that we do is not always going to work. It's about just, like you said, trying things out, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, offering our services. If someone wants to work with us, we work with them. If they don't, maybe we're not the person for, like, just executing your strategy.
NJ, I never try to ignore the fact that there are emotions in business. It's not just business. Oftentimes business does have some personal connections to it. But I think, though, that the reason why a lot of people have a very difficult time detaching themselves from the emotions of business, first of all, there's the mindset concept, right? So we all have a story. So we have to always be working on our mindset. You can't ignore it. This is not woo-woo. This is not like manifestation, blah, blah, blah. You have to work on your mindset, period, done. Every high performer in the world, why do you think Simone Biles said, wait, let me put a pause here. Let me go back and check to see what's going on. Simone Biles, the GOAT, she had to do some moments where she had to go to a professional and work on her own her internal stuff. So if you think that somehow that, working on your mind and working on what's happening within internally is a waste of time, a bad idea, whatever. I don't really, you're not human. However, so you always have to do, and it's like, you're like, oh, well, I went to a retreat or a conference the other day, and that's all I need for the year. You drink water daily, you sleep on a daily, you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the daily. You need to work on your mind on a daily, period, and done. Okay. So there's that. However, the component I'm talking about, and where people are entangled emotionally with their businesses so that they begin to sort of, their whole self-worth is tied up in it. It's because you're actually thinking your business is you. Your business is an entity, a legal entity outside of yourself that you have created. That is the golden geese, if you want to say it. Okay. So you take care of that business as if it is your child or an entity, but it's outside of you. It's outside of you, and you need to build it, create strong infrastructure, build a team around it. A business is designed to convert the input into the business into value for all of its stakeholders. Stakeholders meaning you, your employees, your customers, anyone who's invested in the company. So if you are so entangled in this thing, on Lord of the Rings, did you watch Lord of the Rings? And and Godolph, and he is it Godolph, whatever the character's name, and he had the ring, and he was like,
Gandalf, yeah.
yeah, precious, precious, precious. And he like stuck in somebody's cave, all precious, precious the ring. That's not how you handle things. Get yourself disconnected emotionally from your business. Your business is an entity outside of yourself. And your goal is to build it up in a way that it can flourish and you can get some benefit from it. Your employees can get benefit from it. Your customers can get benefit from it, but it's not you. It annoys me so much when people post things on social media like, upset when people are upset that they are charging a certain rate. Why are you upset? Why are you upset? Why is that emotionally bothering you? Because if this is the rate for your business, I mean, you walk into Louis Vuitton and you're getting ready to buy a purse, and you say the purse is expensive. Louis Vuitton ain't feeling away because I think that purse is expensive. He ain't having like no crisis of the heart, posting on Facebook talking about my value and my worth. Nobody cares about all that. If you have the money to buy the purse, you buy the purse and you walk out the store. If you don't have the money to buy, then I'm not. If I don't have the money to buy a Louis Vuitton handbag that's going to cost me $4,000, that means that I'm not Louis Vuitton's customer. Period.
Exactly.
And you don't need
Yeah.
to go into all this emotional rigmarole. Whatever. The reason why people get so caught up in it and they do the whole precious thing, because they don't have enough. They don't have enough systems enough for sales, that you have enough leads coming into the business so that you can have conversations or whatever it is, whether you sell products online or whatever, that you can stop obsessing about the one person who came in there. You had a conversation and they didn't want to buy from you and you all obsessed about them. But if you had more people coming in, you wouldn't be obsessed about them. You'd be focused on how to build a business that's going to provide high levels of service to your clients, make them be raving fans of your product, and be referring you to everyone under their, and their family. And then you're really building a business. But all this, emotional rigmarole, that's ridiculous.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. This has been so good. This has been so good. So I have way more questions, but we're not going to do that. We're going to stick to like a half an hour, time frame, but I do want to say, before I let you go, you've given us so much. So whatever to that, but I really would like to say, if a business owner, small business owner, they just want to get started off in the right way, and we're going to talk about like how somebody could maybe reach out to you and get some help, but just if they want to get started off in the right way, can you think of just maybe
the first step
that they could do, or
be clear about yourself. Be clear about your life plan, how you want to live your life. What is your purpose, your mission, your vision? What is it about you? Because here's the thing. When you are clear about what you're here for, what you're supposed to be doing, how you want to live your life, the business is designed, again, we talked about this, to give some inputs into the business. The business generates value. The value needs to be first right. First of all, it gives value to you, the owner. And if you're going to be in the business for any period of time, you need to be able to make sure that the business vision aligns with your life plan, not the other way around. You don't contort your life plan to fit into the business vision. You are very clear about what you want, okay? Then you start looking at your business vision. Now, if I know you asked only for one thing, I'm going to give you two because these kind of play hand in hand. You also need to be very clear about what the business vision is, meaning there are three components that create your business vision. One are your values. When you start scaling up that mountain, you need to know what your values are, or else you're going to violate those values and you're going to, in a different place. You know what your values are. I was speaking at a conference earlier this fall, and it was for home service industry folks, and one of the folks was in one of my workshops. It was a gardening company, yeah. And like, okay, what are your values? One of his company's values is we are on time all the time, every time. Now, I know about you, but when you have someone, a service professional coming to your home and you've taken off work or whatever, and they're supposed to be there at noon and it's 3:00 and they're not there, that's a problem for you. And he's saying one of the values in his business is we're on time, every time on time. We're always on time. So that's a value. So one component of having your business vision is what are your values in the business? The second component is what is the purpose of the business? And when I talk about purpose, people they start going into la la land, all in the highfalutins, the hills are alive with the sound of music. No, we're talking about something real short and real pithy. So in our business, our purpose is we're in the business of helping businesses thrive. It's short, it's succinct, and it's clear. So being very clear about what you're in the business of, and take some time to think about that, because you might be like, well, I'm in the business of, I don't know, providing coffee. That may not be what you're in the business of. You might be in the business of creating social and creating connections with people when they are using your coffee. Okay. So just really being really clear about what you're in the purpose of. So you have your values. What are you in the purpose of? And then what's your core strategic goal? Meaning start creating the core, an objective. We also, you might hear the word BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. This is 15 years out in the future. What does your business look like 15 years out in the future? That's your core strategic goal. That's your true north. And that way you can kind of say, okay, like how much money is your business earning? Which geographical areas are you serving? What types of clients? What is the products that you're serving? What is the number? What is the type of employees that you have? Developing a core strategic goal that if you read it, it's like, a sentence and a half, 2 sentences that allow for you to say, that's true north. So the business vision allows you to have your values, your purpose, your core strategic goal. That's all of those three things is what I call the business vision. Without a vision, the people will perish. But let me just put this back again. If you look at your business vision and then you look at your life plan and they don't really align, what do you fix? You fix the business vision to align with your life plan, because your life plan comes from the within. You're the one running the business and you're the one who's getting some value from it. So it needs to align. So I think those two things will first get you on your fit. And once you have your vision and you're aligned, then you start building the other things into play. What's your exit strategy? How are you creating? What's the business model? Making sure it's tight. Do you have enough things to scale? Fundamental things. Then you move to the other things: leadership, having your staff, creating a strategy, having processes, exceptional execution, innovation and optimization, and then wrap all of that up with mindset.
Well, Kerry-Ann, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm full. This was a good meal, okay? This was
That's
something
what I love to hear.
yes, I really appreciate this. This was amazing information. Just amazing. So I hope my audience appreciates everything that you have definitely shared with us today. I really appreciate you.
It's been such a joy to be here, NJ. This conversation's been
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes, I have enjoyed you. I have definitely enjoyed, and you are hilarious. I was trying to, because my laughter has gotten me in trouble because so I was trying to keep it together. I was like, oh my God.
I think laughter is a thing we all need more in this world, man.
True. That is definitely true. But yes, thank you so much for being on the show. Now,
You're welcome. Very welcome.
if someone wants to work with you, I know I have your LinkedIn and your Facebook that I'm going to throw up here.
Yeah, tell them to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Look, I'm a real person. I'm on LinkedIn, and I mean, yes, a lot of times people do things on LinkedIn, and it's not really like connecting with people. But I really like to connect with people. If you send me a message, I'm going to reply. So send me a message on LinkedIn. Send me a message on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as well. Just send me a message and say, "Hey, Kerry-Ann, I'm with NJ and her crew, and I'm really realizing that I've got some chaos happening in the business right now, and I need to fix that." Because I'm telling you, the reality is, and then I do this. Obviously, this is my business, but I'm passionate about this because, NJ, when you start looking at 70% of businesses failing in 10 years, that's not just that's not just a statistic. These are people who have invested money, time into these businesses, and it's employees being let go. It's bills not being paid. It's people getting stressed. It's families falling apart. So when a business falls, it's not just for naught. It's a really big deal. And so I really think it's so important. And then the role that small businesses play in our economies, local economies, our tax infrastructure and such that support our nonprofits and our local communities. The small and medium-sized business is really what creates our GDP and allows our GDP to grow in all of our nations. It's a really big deal to have small and medium-sized businesses that thrive. So if you're experiencing chaos, this is not something to play with. It's not. NJ and I like to have a good time, and we can shoot the breeze as much as we can. But the reality is, you can't really play around with that. So if you're really experiencing chaos, pay attention to it now, and fix it. Just fix it.
Well, you guys, I have put her information in the chat, so you can definitely pick it up there. And I showed it on the screen. You guys have to listen to. I know you guys are going to listen to the replay on this because that was some good information. But Kerry-Ann, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. You definitely brought the value for my audience today, and I appreciate that.
You're very welcome, NJ. Anytime.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, another great show. I thank my guest today, Miss Kerry-Ann Powell. She definitely left us with some amazing information. As I said, listen to that replay if you need to catch her LinkedIn link in the chat. Make sure you connect with her if you're feeling like your business is chaotic. Definitely. You guys, we're going to be here again. I thank you guys for joining me. We're going to be here again. And actually, I should take that back. This is going to be a recorded show because it's the day after Thanksgiving, you guys. It's the day after Thanksgiving, and I'm going to be in a turkey coma. So it's going to be a recorded show, but it's going to be a really good one. It's actually we're going to have Natalie Ragsdale on, and we're going to talk about her role as a legacy keeper and what that means and how you can be a legacy keeper as well. And so you guys make sure you do come and still watch that show, while you're rehabilitating from Thanksgiving. Okay. And I appreciate you guys joining me today. Until next time, you guys, stay boss.